Hello everyone, welcome back to my series of videos making the small pipe organ. I'm in BBC Maida Vale in West London today, the iconic #1 studio. We're doing some rehearsals for a prom tomorrow. This building has now been sold by the BBC. It's going to none other than Hans Zimmer. He's turning into a recording studio. So it's maybe the last time I ever come here, which will be sad. But anyway, I'm here with my little chamber organ. And we're now moving on to the Casework, and we're dipping into it. It was a difficult one to film, so I hope you enjoy it. And please do like and subscribe so we can try and extend this to as many people as possible. That'd be great. I hope you enjoy this next one. Thank you. Okay, we're onto the Casework, and this will be made out of American oak, white oak. This is very hard timber. The Americans tend to dry their timbers quite quickly and quite fiercely, so they're drawing the moisture out of the timber very quickly, which means it almost case hardens the wood, which means it's incredibly unforgiving on your tools. But anyway, it looks great, and it serves a purpose for this casework, which has to match the oak in the church. So I start by cutting the planks to length and then roughly to width. I'm always ripping the planks with the bandsaw. It's much easier on the machine and produces less heat in the bandsaw than you would if you were trying to do this on a circular saw. The less heat means less warpage or less movement while you're actually machining. So I'm left with the rough cut pieces with all cut to width and to length, over width and over length obviously, and then I'll number each piece, which relates to the spreadsheet I have for the cutting list. So we're back to the planer to face an edge as before. Now, the slower you move the timber across the planer, the better finish you're going to get. So you'll find the first pass will be faster than the second, or the final third pass. You're going to get fewer ripples off the blades. You see, so that's the first pass, which is just straightening out the bumps and the lumps, and then the second pass, again the same thing, and then probably the third pass you'll find I'll go much slower. Yeah, so we're going to get a much better finish. There's less cleaning up then required. So I've got the face and the edge now, and I'll mark that with a pencil with a squiggle, tell you which way those are, work our way through all the pieces, and then we thickness them to width and to thickness. Again, this planer is sped up now, but it's set to quite a slow feed, which is good. I mean, it's very monotonous when you're doing lots of pieces, because you get quite impatient because it's going so slowly, but actually it's worth it because, again, you're getting a better finish. Now, this is a magical machine. I love this machine. This is made by Festool, a German company, called a domino. I think it's probably called a domino because of the shape of the flat tendons or dowels. And what happens is it's a little cutter that oscillates from side to side, and you'll see in a minute it actually cuts a slotted hole, which is the perfect size for the domino dowels. Now, this is instead of using the traditional method, which is mortise and tenon. Now, I used to do mortise and tenons, but this is so much quicker. Having a loose tenon means you can cut all the parts exactly to width without having to add on a bit for the tenon and then machining the tenon on whatever machine you have. I never got a decent way of actually getting a tenon cut on the circular saw, which was really accurate. With this, everything is 100% accurate. You can see the shape of the dowels there, and you see why they're called dominoes. And this is a beautiful tight fit, and you can see with this small casework you can get away with this. If it was a much larger piece of case, I would do the traditional mortise and tenon, but that's totally flush now. So then we're left with the whole. This is the front panel, obviously. This is where you'll see the front front pipes. So we put a little bit of glue in the mortises. You see, I've actually glued up the end towers separately, so I'm not trying to glue up too much at once. We bash the dowels in. The dowels they're slightly ridged so that the glue comes up through the hole, and it makes it a very, very strong joint. You'll see as I zoom in, see the glue coming out of the bottom of the hole around the edges of the dowel. And all of these cases are actually held together with a cornice on the top or a skirting on the bottom, so it will be incredibly strong once everything is glued up and glued together. But these, the system is just called a loose tenon system rather than doing a fixed tenon where the tenon would be machined off the pieces individually. And it's so much quicker because, as I say, you can cut the pieces exactly to width without having to worry about the extra for the tenons, and then you don't have to machine the tenon. This saves so much time, and that Festool domino machine is quite expensive, and people do complain about the price of Festool power tools, but I personally think as a professional cabinet maker they're worth every single penny because of the amount of time it saves. So we've got quite a few components to go here, and luckily this tight bond glue gives us enough time to work on it without worrying about the going off before it's all assembled. You still have to be fairly smartish. But the lovely thing is that you glue this up and you know it's just going to line up perfectly. As long as you've laid out the dowels correctly, obviously. We're on to the final piece is going to now, and then we're going to put it all together with some sash cramps. I haven't put any protection pieces on this because this oak is so hard. I'm really not tightening these clamps very tightly at all, and all of the pieces have to be cleaned up anyway before it's finished. If this was pine, I would probably be building protective pieces between the ends of the sash, the clamps, and the wood, because it would damage the timber. So we're on to that was the front, obviously, and now we're on to the sides. Exactly the same process with the dominoes. Just wiping away the excess glue. It's not necessary to use too much glue with joints like this. You do see a lot of videos online of people using huge amounts of glue, and it's all just gushing out at the joint. Such a waste of glue, nothing else. It's not necessary. Again, using sash clamps. And what I'll do is, which I didn't show on the vinyl, is putting little pieces of paper on between the metal bar on the sash clamp and the yoke, because the glue will react with the iron or the steel and oxidise and stain the tin. It's quite difficult to get out sometimes. So now we're cleaning all the pieces up, initially with the finest grit belt sander I've got, which is about a 120 grit. Obviously you have to go with the grain here, but be very careful. This is quite a, it's getting used to that sander. You have to be very careful, because you can go too far and you can do a lot of damage with it. So we're back onto the domino to do the corners now. For this we'll be using the smaller size dowels, so it doesn't come all the way through the case. You'll see in a minute. This thing really does work so well. It's just so well designed. Then we put a little right angle jig on it, so we can do the upright ones as well. Now you'll see when it starts, you see the machine oscillating. That little carriage there for the blade is oscillating, so when I plunge it's exactly this right width for that flat dowel. And what I've done is just made a rod up for where these holes are to be cut or drilled, so that each corner is the dowel is in exactly the same place in the corresponding corner. And obviously there's a depth stop on this machine which you adjust accordingly. What I don't want here is for the hole to go straight through and out the other side. Again, and as I zoom in you can see that little carriage oscillating. It's very, very clever and very effective, and so quick. Now we've got the four sides, is it, front and the back and the two sides, and we're going to just put this together without the glue at first. Check I've done everything correctly, all the dowels are in the right place. You can see the little dowel sticking out of the side of that side there. Working out which goes where. Amazing bit of camera work here. I'm sorry I've cut off the top of the case completely. I don't know what I was thinking, but you get the gist. Now, these dowels are nice and tight, but not too tight. So just a little tap with a rubber mallet is all you need. Very, very satisfying when you get it right and they're all in the right position. And this all just goes together like a jigsaw puzzle. The lovely thing about this is you don't have to worry about the timber sliding around while you're clumping it up, because it's all just absolutely held rigid by those dominoes. So time for the glue. And I'll put glue in the holes first, and then I will brush on some glue onto the full length of the piece as well. Again, not too much glue, not necessary. Okay, we'll fast forward through this bit, applying the glue. So we'll do 2 joints at a time. We'll do the front first, front onto the sides. We're just using good old-fashioned G-clamps here, but not over-tightening them because I don't want to damage the timber, but you don't need much pressure. This is where those dominoes are so brilliant, because you don't have to worry about the timber moving. So we're just we start making up the back where the draw stop will go, and the towers, the extra bits on the top. It's all of it gets a bit complicated. I haven't actually shown gluing on the top bit there with the cutout for the music desk and the access hole for the tuning. So this is a bit fiddly. But this is now started to take shape where you can start seeing the shape of the organ. Right, well, I can only blame the pressure of filming this for what I've done here. Usually before I glue this piece in for the holes for the draw stop rods, I would do this on the pillow drill before I glued the piece, and I've completely forgotten to cut these holes out before gluing it onto the organ. So I'm left with having to do this by hand, which is 100 times more difficult. But it's the same process as doing this on the pillow drill, and cut out the square holes for the rods first to minimum depth, and then you drill a relief hole behind, and you can imagine this being an awful lot easier on the bench, on the pillow drill, the bench drill. But this, luckily, all I have to go is to the depth of this Forstner bit is the right depth. So if I show it from the other side, you can see I've cut the hole over deep in the knee, so that the relief hole will take away the rest to reveal the square hole. The idea being you want as little friction as possible for the rod, so you're only left with 3 or 4 millimeters. Now, for some reason, when the files were corrupted, the series of videos I did for the mounting the casters were, well, they didn't turn out quite as I expected, so I've had to shorten these. You'll get the idea anyway. They're the wheels being mounted. The case is upside down there. Anyway, now we move on to the skirting board and the cornice. This is just a nice contemporary design with 2 slots in it on the cornice and a single slot on the skirting, which you'll see in a minute. But this is all done on the router table. Taking small cuts at once. You don't try to do the whole depth at once, because you're just going to put extra strain on the blade and it'll just burn. Now here's a nifty little gadget. We've got to do the miters now for the joints, so we set this up by using this It's so accurate. It's just within a tenth of a millimetre, a tenth of a degree, I should say. And so that's now exactly 45 degrees to get the correct angle for what we want to do the right angle mitre. So we offer it up to one end, fix it in place with a clamp. Check that the mitre is correct at one end, and then we can mark where we need to cut the mitre on the other end. This is a pretty foolproof way, really, of making sure you cut the mitre exactly the same way. Again, I'm using a knife rather than a pencil. Pencil's not accurate enough. And there the cornices are done, and there's a flat cornice on the front as well, which is done with little returns there. Then turn the whole thing upside down, and we've got the skirting with a single slot in it. And that is the main part of the case finished. So now we just need to hang the doors. So we've got a couple of brass hinges on each door. These have been polished. They come cast, so they come quite a rough finish. It's quite a lot of work to clean those up and buff them up on the mopping wheel. And we'll do that the same to the brass screws as well, so everything looks nice and shiny. So we mark the depth of the hinge, or the width, I suppose, and then the depth. For how deep it's recessed. We want a flush finish. And we'll just take our time chiseling that out and working our way to that knife edge that we've done. Then we centre punch the holes for the screws. Pre-drill them. A little bit of candle wax on the screws. You really don't want to. These screws can actually break very easily in this oak. If those holes were too tight, you could very, very easily just snap them off. That wouldn't be ideal. And there the hinges are mounted onto the case. You can see the lattice, the sort of lattice work on the doors. They're just laser cut, veneered panels. They let the sound out, which is a good thing with these instruments. But the final thing at this point, well, as far as we'll go with this video, is just mounting the nameplate. So I'll just put some pieces of masking tape to mark where the plate's going to go, so I don't have to mark onto the oak itself. Pre-drill the holes again for the screws. remove the masking tape. And we can screw the plaque on. This is what I put on all my instruments, just my name, where I am, and the year. Again, a little bit of candle wax on those screws so they don't break. They go in smoothly. And I'll dress those screws when I finally fit the dressing, meaning the slots will be all horizontal, facing the same way. Give that a little polish with a rag, and we're finished with this video. So thank you so much for watching again. The next one will be the draw stop action. I look forward to joining you then.